Then I will be like getting ready to start. We like the idea was that we just, because this class is kind of to have a possibility to meet with people who are thinking maybe to join us in Bali for the Ocean Touch retreat. But also this class is open for everyone who just wants to move a little bit with us. So we'll say just a couple of words about this retreat, then we'll do the movement part. I will be teaching and Zhan will be teaching, guiding. And then we can speak, like, for those who want, who are curious, we can speak a little bit more about the program, so you can stay, or if this is enough for you, like you can just move and leave and go to sleep. Especially those who have night now. And then we can also answer some questions. Altogether, it will take like about 1.5 hours, maybe. So maybe Zhan, maybe if you want to say something about the retreat, and then I will start guiding to the movement.
Yeah.
And also Alina and Natasha will be answering in the chat. So if suddenly you have some question or you want to say something, Alina and Natasha will be checking the chat. Yes, Zhan.
So maybe just briefly, we are proposing a program that will be set up from 2 parts, and one part will be just meeting with the water, meeting with ourselves, meeting with the teachings that we share with Sasha, kind of create group coherency, to connect, to bond, to understand the basis of material which we can move from, and then talk about and go deeper in the next part. And the second part is going to be more focused in facilitation. So facilitation of groups, facilitation of space, facilitation of how to basically how to navigate also structures of the retreat structures, how to hold groups in the water, how to take care of people who are entering in processes, how to and why, and going in depth of facilitation, and also deepening on the material that we're going to set up in the first part of the course. So maybe it's a good question of who of these people here is considering this retreat, just for us to know. Maybe it's nice to understand, yeah, how to, like, not to take focus now from the class, if we're gonna post this later for people that are more focused on joining. So from who from you joining this group now will be in Bali at that time? Jess? Yelena, I think, getting excited about it. Great. Natalia,
Okay.
Alina. Okay, great. Okay. And for the
Okay. You
rest,
can
I
also
don't.
write something in the chat if you don't have your video on.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, maybe then I would just add that like the way I love to teach for facilitators is that first half of time we go as participants. So we like really embody the movement, and then we watch to our experience already from another role, and we kind of have like this professional discourse, but after like really taking it as a participant with totally open mind, with like entering a little bit into the beginner's mind, because then we actually have some experience that we can relate to when we are speaking about facilitation. So this is the structure. We'll have 4 days, then 1 day of rest and laboratories, and then 4 days more. Okay, so for the movement, I would invite you to leave your chair if you are sitting on the chair. Just because I believe that like when we are stuck to the chair, actually like our movement is limited. So see if you can move your camera, or maybe you don't want to be like to appear in the camera, but still you can leave your camera on. It's not that you like all the time have to show yourself. But Lawaz is writing, I'm very interested. for the future, but this time in Bali would be too soon for me. Definitely interested to learn more future trainings. Okay, so like you can even lay down, you can walk around, you can get support from the wall if you are too tired. I see Mita is on the beautiful grass. And just start from noticing that there is always some movement in your body. That even if you don't produce movement, there is movement. And I will just invite you to point attention on something. And whatever feels right to you, please do it. You don't have to be always obedient. You don't have to always follow my words, because this is your life, and maybe at some point you will feel, oh, I want to do this, and Sasha didn't say this. So please feel free if you feel that your needs come up, if your needs become hearable and visible for you, you can satisfy your needs. Because basically I think that the work that we do is something that brings us to listen to ourselves better. And when we listen to ourselves better, we can help ourselves better, because we start being more tuned to our needs, and we can sometimes some of the needs just nourish them, satisfy them on the spot. Hey, so let's notice that there is already some movement in you, and it can be at least the movement of the breathing that can be noticed by you. So what if we relate to the breathing not as just to this meaning of getting oxygen, but that there is a body process, there is a movement, there is a constant movement that we are doing with all of ourselves, not just with our mouth, not just with our lungs, but it's the whole body shifting its volume, sometimes to invite more air, sometimes to expel more air. And I invite you to notice that actually, wow, even if I don't notice it, but I do it with all of my body, because everything in the body is connected. There is no part that is not participating in the breathing. Though some parts can be like more retained, more restricted, more blocked. What if I just allow all my body, all my cells to participate in inviting air in, taking air out. And just go with your attention through all of your body, including your face, including the movement of your head. Does my head move not just because of inhale, but does my head move supporting every inhale, helping the body to create every inhale, and supporting every exhale? So there is something about permission. It's not just the movement happening, but the movement happening also within the frame of what I allow myself, where I allow the movement to happen. If I think that the pelvis has to be stable, the pelvis doesn't have to be expressive, then maybe my pelvis will participate less in the movement of the breathing. Oh. And what if all of my pelvis is allowed be to participate, to express movement, to be part of my movement? How I will breathe then? If I'm breathing with all of myself and I'm not excluding parts. And when you allow parts of your body to join the movement, if you allow parts of your body to create breathing, notice maybe the movement will become different. There's more allowance, and maybe there is more diversity. Maybe some movement becomes not that much repetitive or rhythmical, and maybe there will be some asymmetry in your breathing. And in your breathing, I mean in the movement of your entire body that is doing the breathing, that is doing it constantly. So what if I allow the movement to happen without pushing it to happen? And then I will allow and notice how it actually wants to happen now. How actually all of my body mind, including my subconsciousness, including my awareness, how does it participate in the movement? How is it expressed, being expressed in the movement? And what if we also notice that when the air is entering, when the air is exiting, when the body is changing shape, there is some vibration, some movement of the air. And I can restrict my sound, I can pretend being quiet, or without pushing any sound, I can just let the sound occur. I can just let the sound to be there. Basically, what the sound is such a movement that is touching something inside of me, and it's also touching something outside. It's such a movement that produces movement of air, and this air is touching the space around me, is touching my own eardrums, and is touching my own body. So the sound is, let's say, it's a media of touch. The sound is the touch, in a way, is the movement and the touch that it creates. So we can play, noticing the breathing as movement and noticing the sound as movement and touch. Without pushing it to happen, but more observing like a witness. Observing, the movement of my breathing is like this right now. The movement of my sound is like this right now. Maybe I will feel how I'm vibrating my body. I'm touching my body with vibration from inside. I'm sensing the touch of my sound from inside. And also maybe I hear the sound that is going through the air and touching the walls and coming back to myself. And I can play with how my body changes shape, with how my body closes the tubes or opens the tubes. So the sound becomes different. So I play with the sound as with a movement. I can twist and notice how the sound will happen when I twist, or I can bend myself, or I can press myself somewhere. Or I can add even more parts of my body to move and to join the movement. Yeah. So using the sound as the way of self-touch, changing the body shape to create this touch different, create the diversity of this touch. And meanwhile you do it, let's imagine that this touch of the sound is spreading through the body, because actually all the layers in the body, all the tissues are touching each other and they are passing this touch. I create vibration with my sound. And this vibration, this movement goes through one tissue and is passed to another tissue, to another filament, to the bones, to the marrow, through the brain. And I invite you for 2 minutes just to move with this awareness that everything inside of me is touching. Every cell through the interstitial liquid is touching another cell. Every bunch of filaments, every piece of tissue is gliding along the other tissues, is a little bit pressing on the other tissues. My blood is pressing inside of the veins and is touching the veins from inside. My heart is pumping and is touching what is around it. It's touching the lungs, the diaphragm, the spine. And through the touch, all the parts of my body and all the cells know where they are, and they exchange information of where they are and what to do and how to work in the team. So I invite us just for 2 minutes to be aware that the touch is this media of passing the information, and everything in my body is participating in the touch. There's nothing in my body that is away from it. Though actually when we think of the atoms, they are not, let's say, like there is no certain shape of the atom. There is no certain surface in the atom. There is a lot of emptiness, but through the emptiness are coming the waves. There is something that always, something that always moves inside. And this energy, this little movement creates waves, and these waves are touching everything what is around. So we imagine ourselves as matter, as something material. Actually, we are mostly emptiness, and this emptiness is filled with waves. So there is some touch that we can imagine as something more solid, but also there is a lot of emptiness and space to this touch. And there is a lot of information that is passing through the vibration. So we can say that the vibration is what touches, and I am the vibration. And it is a miracle how all these vibrations, after all, are united into one body that has some identity, that has its sensations, likes and dislikes, emotions, stories, how it all together comes into one entity, into one being that is somehow living his story and identifying itself and creating some changes in his perception and his life. And I want to invite us for some moment to take our hands and just start applying one hand or two hands to different parts of the body. Me, the being that is made of vibration, that is full of inner touch, that is passing the information, I will take my hands and just start applying my hands, maybe sometimes to the sacrum, sometimes to the face. Maybe I will just put a hand and then take it away, or maybe I will slide with my hand from one place to another. And sometimes our hands are kind of very clever, connected to the brains. So we touch with the hand and the brain knows something. You can notice it, you can notice how maybe it's something very common for you, or maybe it will suddenly become something like very like discoverful, some discovery for you, like noticing this phenomenon. Wow, my hand is perceiving, my hand is touching, and I perceive, I know. Where do I perceive? How does it feel? That through the hand, I'm knowing something, I'm getting some information. Where does this touch resonate in me? How am I perceiving? Like, what is my process of perceiving? I would say, what is my perception of this act of perceiving? My hand is discovering my own belly, for example. How do I know what I sense with my hand? How does it feel what I sense with my hand? Just take a minute for this very simple discovery. How does it feel to touch and perceive with the hand? And while you do it, you can also notice the quality of your hand. Like, what is actually your hand doing to perceive? Maybe it is kind of touching and reaching, how much it is pressing, how much your hand is kind of spreading its antennas. Like, what is the quality that I bring into my hand? So it would start like some touch, this action of perception, because in the touch there is this part of receiving and maybe a little bit this part of giving. So what do I do with my hand? Maybe I soften it, maybe I tense it, maybe I let it become like really like open to change its shape when it's gliding along my body. Yes, what is this quality in my hand? What is this quality that allows perception, that allows nice touch to happen? And now I want to invite you to shift your attention so you will identify yourself not with your hand, but you will identify yourself with the body part that is being touched by your hand. Let's say if I'm touching my belly, I will now start more perceiving. I will start like fine-tuning, not from the hand, but from the belly. How do I perceive the touch? Like from this other side. How do I participate in the touch from the side of my belly or shoulder or sacrum or chest? How does it feel that this part is actually not only receiving, it's also giving the touch. It's also answering back, and it's also moving. What is its body, this body's movement that is participating in the touch to the hand? Maybe there is some softening, maybe there is some like reaching out, spreading the antennas. Notice what it does to your breathing when you are focusing not so much with your hand, when you are identifying yourself not that much with your own hand, but with all the rest of the body beside the hand that is touching back, that is sensing, that is moving. And it doesn't matter now, maybe now your hand is moving actively or all the body is moving actively and the hand is more stable. Let's give it half a minute more. Like I'm touching from my body, I'm reaching, and I want to notice how does it feel this way? How does it feel, this part that is being touched and also touching? What am I actually doing there? What am I actually sensing there? How I'm being it. What if I bring my curiosity not only in my hand? What if I bring curiosity from all the rest of body parts? What if I bring sensitivity not only in my hand? Maybe you feel a different kind of heat. How does my hand feels like? How do I feel my hand when I'm touching it? Hey. How my breathing is participating in this movement of touch. Maybe with the breathing, sometimes I'm like extending out, maybe sometimes I'm like withdrawing myself. So there is some movement under the movement of touch. And for the next 2 minutes, let's try kind of to be both, to send our attention from the both sides. I'm both my hand, I'm identifying myself with my hand, and I'm also identifying myself with the rest of the body parts that are being touched and or that are participating in touching the hand. And while you do it, you can notice that it is not only your skin sensing or participating in the touch, that through all the layers of your body, it's also your muscles, your fascia, your inner organs are changing shape, are extending to the touch or withdrawing to the touch. So there is communication of many, many layers of my being. And there can be a lot of movement or there can be a very little movement. The movement is always there. We know that even there is some movement like the fascia, when it is being touched, it can kind of melt, become warmer and more liquid. So beside the movement that I can be aware of, beside the movement in the space, also there is some movement in the tissues themselves. Maybe if I touch myself somewhere, the blood starts running to this place because my attention is there. And then the bloodstream is activated there and this place becomes warmer and softer. So there is lots of movement in a very tiny level, and also it can be some big obvious movement. So right now we're exploring how does it feel to have like this touch from two sides, my hand and something which is not my hand. And how can I be aware of both of these phenomena, of both of these sensations, and of the movement that is under it? Some of the movement I'm aware in the way I can control it, and some of the movement maybe I cannot control, like melting of the fascia or empowering the bloodstream. But I still can invite it to my awareness. I still can be curious about it. And for the next 3 minutes, I invite you for like free improvisation. Bring your body. It can be one hand, it can be two hands. It can be the body parts touching back to the hands. And exploring Where does it feel good? How does it feel? What do I want? Maybe I don't want now any touch at all. Maybe I notice that I'm keeping like some unconscious tension. What would feel right for me right now? In this context of sensing myself and participating in the Dutch with all of the layers of my being. Until the bones, until the spine, involving all the atoms and the spaces between my atoms. Being this amazing, complicated structure that has sensations, feelings, that is noticing pleasure or something which is not pleasurable. Being in touch with myself. 3 minutes of free exploration, free movement. And we always remember that the sound is part of the movement. The breathing is part of the movement. Vibration is part of the movement. Vibration is part of the touch. Even if I don't do any movement with my hands, the touch between all of my tissues is always there. So I don't need to produce what we call touch. When we see like a hand touch, the touch is always there. The exchange of information, the gliding, the pressure, the overlapping of the waves, electromagnetic vibration is always there. I am the touch. Each time I breathe, I touch when I inhale and when I exhale. Each time I do nothing, even if I do breath hold, my cells are still touching each other. My waters are touching each other. My tissues, my atoms, and my empty spaces. Touching and being touched, receiving information, exchanging information, being in this togetherness. And in this framework of touching, just for 2 minutes, I would like to bring to our awareness this pattern in basic neurocellular patterns. It's called gelatination. That is the pattern of the particles sometimes coming closer to each other and creating more links, and sometimes the particle like spreading around and losing their relations and becoming more spacious, like creating more space. You can just imagine that before the matter was there, like the atoms started creating some densities even before the cell appeared. And then also in our body and in the air, like if you see the smoke moving, sometimes some more density appears, some particles approach to each other, and sometimes some particles spread around and they kind of create more space between themselves. So we can think of some tensions in our body through this point of view. What if sometimes my matter becomes more dense and the particles kind of touch each other more? And sometimes they can become more spacious in relationship to each other. So just for 2 minutes, I invite you to play with this idea that it is not constant, the density that is there in my body and all of my body parts, but I can kind of invite like this more solid touch between the particles, or more spatial touch, or like creating space between the particles. And I invite you to play with this idea. Like the way I was approaching my hand to my cheek, I could also take my hand away, and the same I can invite myself to do within my body, within my matter. Maybe in my jaw, in my bones, in some places that I feel like too solid. I can create like more solidity in the touch, more density, more exchange of information, or I can let the particles, the atoms, kind of to spread around, create space. And this is a movement that is kind of more subtle than just expansion and contraction, because it's not at the level of the muscles. It's even before. And still I can bring it like invitation to my body. Condensing or creating more space between the particles in a very, very soft way. Maybe this is something that I cannot really control, but I can invite it. I can invite this behavior of particles. And you can use your breathing to support this movement. Maybe sometimes we feel like headache and we don't notice, but like there is some density in the fascia around our brain, around our scalp. And we can just bring like more spaciousness to this part of our body. Let the particles spread around, create some emptiness between them, to soften the touch, kind of to let go of the grasp between them. It will take just 1 minute more for this playing with the density, playing with the touch between my particles. And I will pass the word to Zhan.
Unmute yourself, Zhan.
Thank you, Alina. So I would just like to extend what Sasha has already started. So just keep yourself in the inner space and the state that we have generated. I would like to bring more awareness and attention to touching ourselves with the sound. So as Sasha has explained and shared before, the self-touch is coming from different sides. So I can touch myself from the hand, I can touch myself from my body to the hand. And for me, a very interesting and one of the most inspiring places to touch myself is from within, creating a vibration that goes throughout my body. And I would like to propose to us to see how different vowels are affecting different parts of our body. So for the beginning, I would like all of us to place a hand on our forehead. Whenever you are, you can be laying down, you can be sitting, you can be standing. And we just start from empty touch, which means I'm just placing my hand there. And we can take a minute to observe what's happening. I'm just putting my presence and my awareness, and there is a cellular migration that is starting to happen by itself. Okay, observing this communication that is happening between two parts of the body. Meeting each other. And at one moment, it might feel like they have merged in a certain way, like the hand has glued to the forehead. It's just remembering that it's part of it. And we are just remembering that it's part of the same. And I propose from this space, we try to move the head slightly so you can feel the fascia. So we are keeping the hand in a still place, glued to the skin of the forehead, and moving the head slightly. So we're stretching this fascia in the face. And now that we have established this connection, I would like to open the space to touch ourselves from the inside. So we're gonna join with the voice and the vowel that is corresponding to this part of the body. So this would be a sound E. So all of us now at the same time, we try to breathe in and to make a sound, and you can observe when the vibration is getting stronger or less, just changing the little bit the E. So we're just breathing in and making a sound and seeing how it connects to the area of the head and the crown. E. And you can try now to do this for 5 more times together. And meanwhile, the next one, we can try to remove the hand. Now with the hand removed, we are observing this space. How is it different? Do we feel a different kind of activation? Or do we feel a certain coldness or emptiness and migration that is happening now when I have removed my hand? Hey. And now we sound together 3 more times, and in the same time you can observe how you can move with a different vibration correlating to a different part of the head. Experiment a little bit with the vowel I. And now at the same time that we are making this voice, we try to allow if there is any subtle movements coming and still trying to resonate the area of the head. You can experiment with different pitch and see how it changes. If I'm making a higher tone, what part of the area starts to get touched? What part of the head starts to resonate? And we allow a moment of silence and we just observe how this touch from the inside has activated the area of the head. And we can compare this activation to bring the awareness from the area of the head to the area of our whole body. And we are again observing a cellular migration that's happening. These activated parts are moving through our whole body. So even if we are focusing on one body part, we're again touching the whole body. It's always nice to bring the awareness from one part and then extending it throughout the whole body again. Okay. We do not have enough time to really go through all the body part by part. I would like to invite you to make a sound O, which is correlating to the abdomen and pelvic area. And we're basically doing the same, making a sound and vibrating the area. You can try to place your hands and vibrate for the first sound, placing it on your abdomen. Again, just playing a little bit around with the pitch of the voice and observing our breathing, how it changes when we connect to another part. And I can already observe how my voice is changing when I'm connecting to the abdominal part of the body. And again, you can invite if there is any movement starting to be generated from that part at the same time as you are voicing and touching your body from the inside and placing your hands to touch ourselves from the inside and from the outside at the same time. And we are observing this space in between our hands and in between the resonance of the voice and how it's merging into one. And again, offering a minute of silence just to observe the cellular migration that is happening. Okay. And you can see if there are certain parts of the body responding now to this activation. I can observe in my body there is some spasms coming up. It feels like just, okay. I'm spreading my awareness throughout the whole body. And I feel my other limbs and other parts of the body, how they are part of this process. And we are slowly bringing our awareness to the environment that is surrounding us, to the ground that you're touching with your body. observing the borders or the borders that have been a little bit softened up. We're just coming to the outer layers of our body, slowly coming from the focus that we had in the inside to the focus that we have sensing the outside environment, sensing the air, the sounds around me, while staying connected to what we have opened up in our bodies. Observe if I can perceive my environment differently now. Just the smell of the air, the sound. And slowly, if you have your eyes closed, you can allow a little bit of light to come in. And observe the space around, just landing back. Hey, I'm slowly inviting everyone to, in your time, to come back to your computer or phone or whatever device you have, and we can share a little bit about the experience. I'm seeing the message just now. Okay.
Maybe before we share, I would like to add that.
A bit louder, Sasha.
Yeah. You hear me like this? I would like to add that, like this, let's say, touching through the sound and tuning through the sound is something would help us to awaken. I would say kind of like the sleepy parts of the body. What I mean is that sometimes, for different reasons, for because of the way we're sitting, or because of some emotional reasons, or because just like we don't have contact with some parts of my body, they stay kind of neglected. And then if we like, if our awareness doesn't travel to some parts of the body which is working in a like very economical way, it's not sending energy where we don't need energy. So like if we neglect or we don't move for a long time some parts of the body, then the body can perceive it's like, oh, it's not mine. I don't really need it. I don't really need to support it. And like the touch through the sound is something that helps softly to like bring attention and bring sensations, and to actually awaken, like physically awaken some parts of the body. So the body starts like integrating it and taking it as like, this is part of me. So I better nourish it. I better support it. And this actually happens in the physical level. Maybe even now you sensed it, that this part somehow became like more present and even more warm. And in this way, we can work with any organ. In this way, we can work with any tissue, and in this way, we can work with any gland. And I can just give an example. Like I had a client, she had like no, I don't know how to say. I don't know how to say kind of misregulation in the thyroid gland. So she had to take like the doctors gave her medicine for this because she was like missing, like this gland was not producing enough hormones. And we worked like, of course, like with this area, like with the topics that were blocking her expression. And at the same time, we were like we were working by just like sending sound there, and then also like sending sound from there. So like awakening this part, saying to this part, I know you're there, and also then letting this part to express itself through the sound, like giving the whole of the body just to this part kind of to be manifested. And after a couple of months of work, she didn't need the medications anymore. And it's kind of this hypo, I don't remember what was the name of like this illness. It's like hypofunction of thyroids. It just went away because kind of her conscience adapted and like involved the thyroid gland back, and it started just functioning normally. And it's not a miracle, like this is somatic work. So I just kind of want to give this example for you that it's like it's not harmful. You are just creating connection with certain parts of your body if it is missing connection, and this is something you can play with freely.
And maybe to add to
Mm-hmm.
that,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
very effective. So sometimes we forget how much we can touch just with a certain frequency and vibration. So I can touch myself with the hand, and with my awareness I can travel to the different layers of the body. When I'm I'm playing with different vibrations, with different pitches of the tone, I can really reach a very specific point when I'm truly focusing, traveling through my body. And if I have a certain part that is just a little bit stuck, or I can really find a specific tone that's correlating to that part and go really deep there, and just with this vibration touch myself from the inside and release many things. It's a very effective tool to work with yourself. So always we have our voice and we have our sounding. So it's like going for a massage from the inside. I can really reach all parts and all layers. So it's a super beautiful exploration and a super strong tool to heal yourself.
Okay, so let's open some space. If there is something you want to mention, no, you don't have to speak, but if there is something you want to share, you're very welcome. We will give like maybe 7 minutes to this, so you can turn on your microphone if you want, or you can also write in the chat. And then with this, we will close like the practical part, and then we will just have some
A bit
chat.
louder,
Okay.
Sasha.
And then we will like close this practical part, and then we'll have some chat for those who are curious about the retreat. Yes, you're welcome. Ludmila, your microphone is not on. No, you are not speaking, okay. But you are very expressive.
So maybe the sharing could be directed to how you felt, maybe touching yourself. For me, it was very interesting to shift focus if I'm touching myself through my hand and then touching myself from my body to the hand. and then we were even adding sound to that. So for me, it's kind of a experience of losing certain how to say, borders of parts of my body. Maybe if you had some experience with that, of what happens when I'm touching myself from different places, or maybe even different places at the same time.
Yeah, I can share what what I experienced. For me, it's even when I start to touch with the hand, it opens some kind the awareness and how I want to be touched, also from the other side. But what really resonated with me, it was the like how everything is touching from within. So it gave me this kind of wholeness. Wherever I touched myself, I felt like it's resonating through whole my body and around. And it felt like layers of water. I saw it as water, were like just being having the space to move with this. So I'm really grateful for your guidance, Sasha and Zhan, how you guide us where to put attention, but in a way, leaving space to the body to respond, I would say. It's hard to word the experience, but it was layering, layering, layering. And then with the voice, it felt like yeah, even another deep layer opened. I know the humming, I'm working with humming, like with the bones, but touching then the sound all around, it was, yeah, it felt like really a resource we could use, but also, yeah, I'm grateful. Thank you.
I also want to share a couple of things. Thank you so much. This was a really nice journey. I really enjoy that kind of, we're kind of used to feeling our body landscape with our hands. Like, oh, like we just do stuff to our body with our hands, wash ourselves, maybe some creams or brush our teeth, and like kind of put some oils. Like I feel like it's our hands know our body's landscape very well. I think it's very beautiful to enjoy our body's landscape through different parts of our body. It creates like, oh, my body is actually something different from perspective of my thighs or from perspective of my shoulder or my head. So it's just a really beautiful experience to kind of get these multiplicity of diverse landscapes of our body to our consciousness. I really enjoy yeah, I really enjoy the new sensations, new colors, new textures that I was experiencing. I also feel this is an anarchist move because it's like not always one way to experience our body. It's not from always hands or mind to hands to the body, but also from our bodies to everything, right? So I feel this is also one way to fight our hierarchies within our bodies. So I really like enjoy this. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Damla. I see Lawaz is writing just to say thank you. It was a powerful and beautiful experience. Wow.
Again, a bit louder, Sasha.
I just read in the chat what Lawaz wrote. She's saying thank you. Okay, so just a couple of minutes more if somebody else wants to share whatever
I
you
would
feel
like
like
to
saying.
share.
Yes,
Can you
Mitya.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much. It's a wonderful practice, kind of like continuation of my yesterday intervision session with my colleagues. And I think that was the very first time in a whole year when I heard a very strong masculine voice within the practical space, because usually it's women who practice with us, and I'm very used to hear Sasha's voice, especially this year. And I've noticed that when Zhan took part to guide us, I noticed a subtle shift over all of my, I don't know, body posture, and I felt more contracted. And maybe in just 1.5 minutes, I started to feel even cold. Well, I'm in Florida. It's not cold here. It's like, wow, maybe it's something unusual for you, for my body to receive a very different sound. And I took a little bit of time to kind of allowing to connect to it. And what I noticed that when my cells, my tissues are contracting in this unusual protecting mechanism, feels like when I sound or when I receive the sound, it goes like reflecting through the mirror. It's not going through. And when I slowly coming back into this more wavy, more vibrational, more, I don't know, like alive, not dense. Soma, I feel the sound is going through, and it's so beautiful the way connecting through different parts of my body. I can kind of like listen to the charge I have within each part of my body and create the sound that will resonate with exact this vibrational pitch. And it's, I don't know, it's like massaging from within to specific notes. It's like inner sound healing. It was so beautiful. I had a beautiful experience. Thank you so much.
Eh,
Thank you for sharing and thank you for this observation, because I think it brings a lot of awareness already to the way we are speaking and the way we are vibrating our voice, because it's a way we touch each other. It's not just the way we speak, but it's a way we vibrate our voice. So it's very interesting what kind of things can get activated just by that. And I appreciate you bringing this awareness that it's like, okay, just a change of from female to male voice, and then change from the certain depth or certain softness to a different kind of a structure of a voice. Just it's a very interesting question how we relate to people concerning their voice, basically, or how we are attracted to some people that are sounding in a certain specific way. This is super super beautiful.
I'm really aware of it. Some voices I just cannot stand. And like, let's say I realized I don't want to live in Mexico, and I want to be in Brazil because mostly, like partly, mostly because of the sounds.
Mm.
Like And because of the music, I realized I started hating Mexican music. Yeah, because it gives like certain vibration that I feel like my body is not resonating with, like I cannot enjoy it.
Okay. So maybe if there is one more shorty, and then we can give space for you to ask questions about the retreat that we're proposing, or we can a little bit elaborate on the program that we're gonna offer there for you to have more of an idea. So if you're interested in that part of this, you're welcome to stay, and if you're not interested, you're welcome to go. just yeah, if there is anyone that wishes to share more before we enter that. I was there. Oh. So there is a beautiful picture in the chat that Alina shared with us. I'm trying to make it bigger.
Yeah, I would like to quickly share what was happening for me. Yeah, because at some point I felt how two different colors and energies were coming from my outside touch and inside touch. There were like blue colors and orange, and it was so warm. And at the same time, there was a lot of like water quality of just the energy passing through, and all the layers of the physical matter. There was one quality that they were touched from. It's love. Like I felt a lot of love, just sensing myself that was arising, I don't know from where, but this very beautiful space of different energies merging for me, like with the colors and then with the sound, with different vibration. It was very beautiful. Yeah, this sense of connectedness within the wholeness of my body. And yeah, I resonate a lot that at some point in the space also I just didn't feel separate from the space around. Yeah, it's very beautiful. Thank you so much.
What is this picture, Alina, that you sent us?
Yeah, there is the colors and the textures that I experienced. They're on the picture, basically.
But is this picture representing something for you? Where did you get it from?
I got it from Pinterest. Yeah,
Just found it.
found it because I wanted the specific.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of a little bit of a psychedelic experience always going into these kind of explorations, because I'm losing the idea that a certain part is an arm, a certain part is a head, a certain part is my sound, and it creates a little bit of a roar, kind of merging of the layers and the shapes and the colors and the vibration, and basically all becomes this vibration, and I start to lose boundaries of parts of the body. So yeah, I like this picture that you shared, because it's kind of sending us into cosmos a little bit. Cosmonauts, cosmic